Because
Okay.
for me personally, I don't give a shit.
I hear you.
I'm like, I'll go on my own trip.
So does this relationship allow you to have other relationships?
If I choose to, yeah. I'm not in a place that I want to deal with anyone or anything. I'm barely dealing with myself
Or
and my
anything.
kid. I'm like, literally, please God, I just want to be alone on a beach with a margarita. And that's all I want. Like, I couldn't even fathom dealing with another human right now.
Gotcha. But you could, though.
I could. Yes,
And
absolutely.
And that would mean just having a conversation with Nick.
Absolutely.
And keep the communication.
I'm sure you
open.
wouldn't like it, but I can do what I want to do. I just don't. I'm too tired.
Yeah.
So when there's a
Hey guys, welcome to Little Black Book 91. Those last few words by Brie on that interview were very insightful. I think sometimes when I'm coaching people, this is the kind of thing that happens quite a lot. People tell me a story at the very beginning because they're protecting other people and not realizing that actually they're not protecting the other person, they're protecting themselves. And in this situation with Brie, I think she has been doing that for a very long time, protecting Nick Cannon, but really and truly, she's actually protecting herself because those last few words where she spoke about she could have a partner, right? But actually, she is barely dealing with herself at this moment. And I get that mental, emotional, and physical exhaustion being a mother, pretty much a single one, because no matter how much Nick is around, he can only be so much around. So she's having to do this alone. Now, of course, she agreed to this, so she has to take accountability. But and inside of that, she then speaks about how she could have had a partner, but of course, the other aspect that she kind of slipped in underneath the radar is that I'm sure that Nick wouldn't be happy with it. Hold on a minute. Why would Nick not be happy with it? I didn't know that you guys had a situation where Nick would be able to dictate or feel some type of way about you having other partners when he has four other baby mothers. Right. And then that made me realize she's not telling us the full truth. She's not telling us the full extent of how she really feels. And actually, that is why she's in the position she is. I want to let you guys know. When I coach people, this happens all the time. People are passive aggressive and actually don't know how to be assertive with their wants and their needs. And it's because they grew up in households usually that their voice was muted. So as much as she sounds like she's an independent woman, so strong, and yeah, I can book a holiday for myself. You can. But having those particular traits are very different from being able to stand up for yourself in a relationship. First and foremost, why would a woman want to agree to be a mother out of several others, and the man is not going to be around, and then want to so much be considered a part of the belonging of that family and let her child be so much attached to his family or to the other women who are also having children by Nick Cannon? And yet, Nick, if he really planned this well, would have been making sure that everybody can actually come together. Yet, she's let us know as well in this video, which I didn't play, is that there's no cohesion that's really going on. In fact, there's parts of her which she feels that she's even being left out. Now, what does that mean? It means, first and foremost, Nick is not intentional. It means, second of all, Nick was never about cohesion and bringing his children together. No. This was never about Nick trying to get a cohort of women together to have family and have relations. No. This was solely about Nick and his ego. And the problem with Nick and his ego and not having that aspect, from what I'm seeing, from my perspective, what I'm seeing is that he also played you, but you allowed yourself to be played because you wanted to believe in the lie. And the lie sometimes is very persuasive and very attractive because we are lying to ourselves already. Whenever you feel someone's betraying you, abandoning you, or rejecting you, more than likely you're doing those things to yourself. So you put yourself in places where it will not benefit you, but it will confirm the bias that you already have about you. Now, she says that Nick wouldn't be very, very happy. Why does she have to slip that in? If she said she can do whatever she wants, but has to slip in the fact Nick would be happy, why is that important? Because it is important. It's important because she cares about what Nick thinks. That's why she's in the situation she's in right now. So is it that she doesn't want a partner, or is it the fact that she can't have a partner? Is it the fact that she has to make it very clear to us that she could have one if she wanted to? But what would the wahala and what would be the problem that would arise if she actually did? Because there might be some blowback from this to actually do this. Right? So yes, the kid having a child and wanting that to be a part of the family, wanting Nick to be more inclusive, that's one thing. But she said, I could have had a partner, Nick wouldn't like it. Now that's very revealing, like I said, because that tells us that Nick doesn't want her to move on. Whether he physically does this or whether he emotionally does this, right? He's very clever. He knows his way. He can emotionally tie you in, get you all gassed, get you all enamored with him once more again. And that tells us something. If he can get you enamored whilst not being physically present consistently, and when I say consistently, a majority of the time, more frequently, I should probably say, not consistently, more frequently, it tells us also something about Brie. If you're somebody who's okay with such emotional distance and physical distance in a relationship, bar obviously him being in the army, which he's not, okay, or him having to do some job that takes him far away, which he's not, then you are okay with that distance because more than likely, maybe you have some avoidant traits. And if you have avoidant traits, then you're more than likely maybe a little bit emotionally neglectful of your own emotions and your own thoughts. Now, of course, this is all conjecture because, again, I don't know her background. I don't know her history. I don't know her upbringing. And if I did, if I was coaching her, then maybe I'd be able to make more solid statements. But I'm just kind of giving an idea of why this is potentially could be happening, right? And so if he's not even offering her exclusivity, why is she seemingly underneath the guise of I could do it if I wanted to, offering this exclusivity? Why? Why is she factoring Nick's preferences into things? Her implication is that her freedom is still emotionally tied to his actions. If he desires it, then she can have it. Right? And this might be an indication of somebody who is codependent. They're not able to be independent. They have to be codepending on that person, and their whole identity is wrapped up and shrouded in Nick Cannon. Now, before you call Nick a narcissist, which he probably is because he actually said it himself, right? Codependent people tend to find narcissistic people because they actually have some of the similar traits. Very similar traits. Their need and capacity to be needed, their need and capacity to feel like they have some level of control by being of great servitude to other people, by being wrapped up in that person's world and forgetting about their own. There's self-abandonment that happens. So our good sis is telling us, yeah, Nick wouldn't like it, but I can do whatever I want. Doesn't sound like it, right? Doesn't sound like it. I don't want someone, I just want to be on a beach alone, she said, right? It sounds peaceful on the surface of things, but it also signals potentially emotional exhaustion, which I said, having a child is not easy. Being a single mother is not easy, right? And this is what we talked about how it can happen even in people who love each other, relationships, where a woman can feel like she's alone in the relationship when it comes to how much emotional burden she's taking within that relationship. Now, of course, men and women are not going to ever be on the same plane. But what you can do is you can start to communicate with your partner to say, hey, here's what I need in order to take some of the weight off emotionally. Right? But you need to know you first. You need to be okay with you. You need not to betray yourself and be delusional. Because a lot of us are delusional. We are delusional because we go, I'll work it out. It doesn't matter. I'll just shoulder the burden. It doesn't matter. I've got to be strong. I've got to prove that I'm worthy as a partner. And what you don't realize, all of these traits and all those kind of thoughts are actually keeping you locked in a prison. We're supposed to share the burden. When I say share the burden, doesn't necessarily mean 50-50. It means that you need a certain level of help. And it doesn't sound like Nick is giving her that level of emotional help. So she's emotionally exhausted. Okay. There's avoidance or a self-protective wall, right? She could be masking her hurt with this isolation. Really and truly, she could be feeling some type of way, but not really being honest about the pain that she feels, right? Choosing solitude rather than choosing solitude from fear rather than actually being about joy. Choosing it from a place of actually not feeling like you have a choice, right? So the disillusion with love, and maybe she had expectations that were very silent about her and Nick. Maybe she thought she could change Nick. Maybe she thought that she'd be an exception. She sounds like she really knew what she was getting into. But I think when you get into it and you finally see it for what it actually is, and you realize you've made yourself a single mother, because you are a single mother. Now, don't get twisted. Don't get twisted because Nick is a part of a haram, or whatever it's called. Is that haram? Harem, sorry. Yeah, just because you've got a little thing going on like he's in the Bible days does not mean that you're not emotionally neglected. Does not mean that you're not being emotionally supplied. It does not mean that you are actually being benefited in the situation just because you knew what you walked into. Now, she has to be accountable for that. That's on her. That's not on anybody else. That's on her. It's her life. But at the same time, this is what Nick is doing. Okay? So you can feel tired when there is a one-sided dynamic in the relationship where you feel like you're having to take on the whole entire load. All right? Because again, we heard her speak about Legendary. I think Legendary, her son, and not being included in a part of the group. She said she's cool with everybody. She wants to be. But it sounds like other people are not cool with her. And whose fault is that? Nick. And what does that do? It adds more emotional stress because I thought this was going to be a group thing. I thought this might be a little bit easier with other people I'm cool with, but no, seemingly there seems to be some kind of tension that's not really being spoken about with the mothers of his kids. Of course there is, because women are going to feel like they want to be the special one, and they can't be because Nick is not making anybody special because he's the special one. You're just finding out how difficult it is now to really be a priority, because one thing that women love is being a priority. How is he making any of you a priority? How did you make yourself a priority? You didn't. When you made yourself be a part of the harem, when you made yourself a part of his little world and succumbed to his idea of becoming almost a single baby mother, yeah, with a sugar daddy provider, when you did that, you were thinking about you, yeah, but you weren't thinking long term. And that tells me there's an unbalanced probably mindset that one has when they get involved in this kind of stuff. Okay, so the unresolved emotions are a part of maybe being a part of a non-traditional family structure can be very painful, right? The fear of detachment, having to finally let Nick Cannon go and actually start her own life. Now I know she dated someone in between, but she's wanting to be solid now. But sometimes that can be very difficult because even that relationship that you had after Nick Cannon may not be even fruitful for you because you're still focusing on Nick, right? This emotional loneliness that's disguised as independence, sis. Right? Where's the partnership? It's lacking. Okay? It is lacking. So whilst I do hear a lot of the points and the statements that she made, I think there is something deeper here that she's not really been honest about. And I think many of us get into these situations when we become delusional about what the truth is and what we're actually really seeing. So make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, click on that bell button for notification uploads. We appreciate you. Stay locked, stay loaded. We'll see you again soon. But look, if you do need some coaching, maybe you are in a situation where you feel like you've not been able to really tell people the truth. You feel like you're a little bit codependent. You feel like you're somebody who's struggled to really be able to assert oneself and what your needs and wants are. It's a great time to reach out to me. We're still coaching people and we'd love to have you on board as well. Much love and much appreciation. We'll see you again soon.